All right. Welcome to a new typing episode of Personality Typing with Habib. Today we're going to be typing Liam Cunningham, who acted in Game of Thrones as well as a few other things, or a number of things. And he is an Irish actor. Um, so basically, there's a disclaimer that there's no type accuracy guarantees. I'm doing my best guess and sharing evidence of what I'm seeing. So, um, the first thing we're going to do is just briefly go over the previous episode. Is there any adjustment on the type for now? And then we're going to get into the clips, and that's the meat of the episode: is what is Liam Cunningham's type? Can we analyze some video clips and see what this person is like? And that hopefully gives us insight as to, how personality works, how human psychology works, and that'll help us in our lives too. And then at the end of the video, I'll give a final guess as to what Liam Cunningham's type is. And then I'll share who I'll be typing for the next episode. So I'm very excited for this one. And without further ado, let's get started. So previously on Live Informal Typing, we had Lipa, and it was a slightly different type than what I'm showing here. And what I'm seeing is that it's possibly the case that she might be double feminine over MF. I'm not really sure. I think one of the difficult parts of this is that when you're ST, you come off as pretty masculine to begin with. So it's hard to tell for me whether you're masculine sensory or feminine sensory if you're ST. So it might be the case that she is double feminine. I'm still working it out, but I see that she has a lot more imagery around flowers and things like this. And she has a certain double feminine look that I'll show here. Something with flowers, and just there's a possible masculine NI that she has. So that's whether your intuition is solid or not. And it's possible that her intuition is solid. I'm not sure yet, but that's kind of, if I had to guess today, I would probably lean towards double feminine. So I'm just sharing that here. And someone commented that she is very friendly. And I looked at some interview clips, and she seems pretty tribe motivated, and she's able to go along with people a lot. And so I originally had her as a number 3 specialist, which is good. It's still true that she has specializing over generalizing, but she is also friendly or tribe motivated over self-motivated. So anyway, that's Dua Lipa. And I'll be, sharing the results of whether or not I change opinions on what I think people's types are. And maybe I'll even do like a roundup episode, because this is like episode 19 already. And so anyway, getting into this class, or this typing of Liam Cunningham, the people that he reminded me of were kind of the NFPs. Now, one of these people is not typed yet, Zach Galifianakis, but I think he might be either an INFP or an ENFP, leaning towards ENFP for him. But Rainn Wilson, who played Dwight on The Office, and Nick Offerman, they're both ENFPs that are more on the mopey side. So it's a specific like animal quadrant that Liam Cunningham reminds me of, which is that consume, sleep, play, blast, last. Panda, that's the panda animal stack. Not every animal stack has a name now, but I think this one is so common, and at least that we've seen around the type community or the typing, that we're doing, and with objective personality, that anyway, it just comes off like this panda energy that's like kind of a little lazy, a little mopey, but then also like doing a lot of intake of understanding and consume and all this. So it's difficult to describe, but I'm also seeing some Delta Quadra vibes, and that's also hard to explain, but anyway, so here are the people that I'm reminded of: ENFPs, as well as just maybe even INFPs as well. And so that's my first impression. Now, you still have a lot of work to do when you are reminded of some things. So let's get into the video clips, because we have to see, is this a secret ISTJ? Is this actually an ISTP? You know, there's a lot that, you know, could happen from here. So we got to check if the actual type is correct or not from our just first impressions. So first, we're going to have 5 videos and, you know, different clips. And so clip number 1, we're just getting to know Liam Cunningham. He is, you know, he was an actor in Game of Thrones, so that was a very popular thing. We're going to take a look at some of that just to kind of get a baseline read on him.
Well, life's been good since you hacked them off, Your Grace. And it's 4 less fingernails to clean. At the beginning of season 3, I said the one thing that I'd like to take away from the show when I leave is the scrotum-like bag that held my my finger bones.
Never understood why I had to wear them.
Reminds me where I come from and where I am now. And I went missing for 4.5 years. And Alec, our wonderful costume person, came round to me and went, look what I found. My daughter has it on her wall of awesome. I nicked a little bit of obsidian, a little bit of dragon glass. She's got that there. I hope it doesn't get too hot because it'll melt. Literally, it's tar. Of course, I've got the stag that I gave to Shireen. I took that and gave that to my daughter. I told her to hold it in her hand when the scene was going on. I shouldn't have done that. She was in floods of tears. So I got in trouble over that. I miss the ensemble nature of doing what we're doing. The ensemble work, which has been the most rewarding for me. Every day was a joy coming in on this. You know, apart from being up at 4 o'clock in the morning and your waterproof socks letting in and your... it's definitely unglamorous. It ain't the Caribbean. Follow! It's been extraordinary. Any actor worth his salt would like to be in something that is the highest quality possible. This show will be discovered by generations to come. It's timeless, magnificent. It's just glorious. It was great fun. We did a lot of laughing. Stop hitting me. You're on camera. It was wonderful, wonderful time.
There's a decency and a mutual respect that I've never come across on any other job. We've been all blessed that we've bumped into each other. I can't thank you all enough. Thank you very, very much.
All right. Yeah, that was pretty moving, at least. Yeah, it's hard to tell so much from just the first clip, but at least we're getting some of that tribe motivated number 4 social type energy of he's able to connect with others and he's able to, you know, inspire others, but that's not really the point. Is the ensemble nature. He's very much connected with people. Even though he does come off very much as an introverted person, he's able to, you know, connect and all that. So that's at least the first clip. But how's this reacting to, you know, kind of my initial bias of NFP, some kind of, you know, ENFP or an INFP? It's possibly consistent so far. You know, that was kind of an NF clip. But you know, we're not slamming down. We're just you know, being light with the guessing for now. And yeah, so this is a YouTube short about some things around timelines and events, which masculine sensory versus feminine sensory are going to deal with that a little differently. Are you going to be pushing with timeline and events, or are you going to be pushing more so with the concept of what the events mean? That's what we're looking at here. And then is it even possible for us to look at maybe it's masculine introverted sensing, which is a bit of an advanced move, but we'll see if we can get that.
Many in the West seem to be selling this story that it began on October the 7th. It didn't. It started way before that. And then to use that horrific event to justify what the ICC and the ICJ now are in the middle of that process of confirming a genocide There is no excuse for genocide. Now, if I said to the audience here today, we are calling for a ceasefire, your reaction would be, which one? Are we talking about a ceasefire in Syria? Are we talking about a ceasefire in Lebanon? Are we talking about a ceasefire in Gaza? Is this World War III? We were never talking like that before. We're talking about it now. And the fact that we even have to consider that that might happen means that the world is in a very dangerous position.
Yep. So that was it. That was the situation where he is putting a lot of pressure on the actual events, on the actual sensory of, like, the masculine sensory of, hey, there are things happening in Syria, in Gaza, in these places that, you can point to in the masculine sensor. And so could it be masculine SE or masculine SI? It's possible, really, to be either. But I think it does line up with masculine SI, but we can kind of delay that. It's still, when we're trying to determine whether the sensory is masculine or feminine, this clip definitely drives that part home, is that he's kind of pushing with that, with the sensory of the timeline and events. But yeah, you got to watch as many clips as you can to nail these coins down. So in the next clip, we're going to be watching something about fiction versus reality. So one of the advantages of, being Liam Cunningham is that he's an actor who acted in a really good series called The Game of Thrones, but that fiction really lined up with reality a lot. And there's so much that you learn from fiction, because even though it has nothing to do with reality, it does have to do with it. And those concepts carry over. So the question is, imagine me, ESFP, like how I'm describing fiction versus how Liam Cunningham is describing fiction. Is he able to give you the intuitive overview, or is he going to give proof? That's something that we can watch for in this clip and discover. Does he have intuition higher or sensing higher?
Yes, and it's about the corrupting nature of power. It's about legacy. It's about paranoia when you are in a position of power, and it's about revenge and using your armies that you've been gifted as a leader to exercise your psychopathy, your psychopathic behaviors, and sometimes you need a fictional world to put that philosophy across. I didn't expect it to become true so quickly. It was an incredibly responsible and beautiful piece of writing for the general public to maybe assist them in seeing what absolute power does to people. It corrupts, as the old saying goes. It corrupts absolutely. But I didn't expect to be part of a flotilla in Sicily, waving goodbye to a bunch of smugglers who will smuggle humanitarian aid into Gaza. It was kind of ironic and beautiful to see at the same time.
Life does indeed imitate art, but I
Mhm.
mean, more disturbingly, I guess, just the medieval nature, right, of the barbarism, I think,
Yeah.
and having watched Game of Thrones and just feeling like this was a snapshot in this fantasy world, and then seeing things that I could never even imagine watching in a James Cameron movie.
You have to remember, I've always imagined my character, the Davos Seaworth character, and he was described by many media outlets as the moral compass of the show, which is great and a joy to play. But in fact, if you think about it, he was a very clever device that asked the questions. He was the audience in the show. And as you said, the amount of murder and sadism and mass murder in the show needed some balance. You can't just show this stuff and just have a free-for-all of violence. Even though on TV it's incredibly entertaining and wonderful visuals and all that, you needed somebody to go, hold on a minute, we can't do that. If we do that, we are as bad as the people that we're trying to stop doing that. So it was very necessary from an audience point of view that you had somebody in the show who was a beacon of hope, who had a humanity to them.
unfortunately, in the situation that we have in the Middle East at the moment, there doesn't seem to be any moral compass at all, which leads us to be very fearful for the flotilla, for the boat, the Madeleine that's heading there, because they have lost their conscience, they have lost their moral compass, they're morally bankrupt. So therefore, they're liable, as psychopaths are, to do anything, which is what makes us quite fearful.
And I think that speaks to just this desperation from, I think, humanity at large, the empaths, the humanitarians who are following this horrific situation and saying, where are those voices other than people who are bravely putting their bodies on the line, whether it be the flotilla or the march to Gaza that we're seeing thousands of people right now actually mobile.
Yeah, so not to be rude to end the clip there, but yeah, there was a lot there, because at first we started seeing the intuition versus sensing situation where Liam is giving overviews of multiple concepts. That's kind of extroverted intuition right there. But if you watch that clip again, you'll see that he is pulling all these concepts and speaking pretty authoritatively on, what is going on conceptually between Game of Thrones and the reality we have today, and he's able to bridge those quite well. And then we also saw him talk about the moral compass, where his role in the show was to be the moral compass for the audience, so that when you have senseless killings, that someone is there saying, hold on a minute, and just watching or holding space for the pain that's felt. And so that strikes me more as FI, introverted feeling, over introverted thinking. Here, he's able to speak on morality and just calling out the pain, basically. We have more to go, but that was a bit of a sneak peek as to kind of the extroverted intuition and the introverted feeling, but we're still kind of trying to prove it out through the clips, because it's tough to prove a personality type. So we're just going to try to get a little bit more evidence here. And there's other parts, like one of the things we're going to be looking at here is the sexual modalities of, are you hard on the tribe, or are you going to be hard on yourself? I'm basically between MF and MM. We've already proven masculine sensory, but then when it comes to the tribe and yourself, who are you going to be hard on and who are you going to be soft on? So how is Liam with the tribe? That is what these next two clips are going to address.
To see the gig, we don't have trouble with the authorities. The authorities have trouble with us.
Well, it's, perfectly brings me to Miss Rachel, because this is someone who has been excoriated. This is a children's singer and entertainer. All she does is just sing songs for kids and love
Makes
kids.
children happy. Yeah.
Makes children happy. Surely there couldn't be any reason to hate Miss Rachel. But of course, the parameters of this debate have gone so far that you cannot express empathy or sympathy for Palestinian children, Liam. You cannot humanize Palestinian children, which is simply all she has done. She has tried so far to not make political statements, to not criticize Israel, just say, I love all kids. But that's how extreme it's become. That's how necessary the dehumanization of children and babies is to carry this out.
The people who are doing the complaining are covering their ass. They know they've done something really horrible. And the only way is they double down. We know this. All the interviews you've done, I've seen them, the whole lot. When you attack them with facts, they double down. They don't want to they put ideology ahead of facts, put their feelings ahead of facts. And they don't want to deal with the fact that they've chosen the wrong side. And the only way to hide behind that is with bluster and pearl clutching and offensive talk. And the louder they shout, they think their argument becomes stronger. We know the tide is turning. We know what's happening with the youth. In a sense, geriatrics my age have been lost. And we have to rely on the ideals and the straight thinking of the youth, of students, of people in their 20s and 30s before they've been sucked in to the vileness of the capitalist system, if I may be so bold. Before they're owned.
And as I said, any sort of radical change has never come from the seat of government or because somebody thought it was a good idea. It's come from people standing up and going, no, enough is enough. We want our ball back. You guys have been running with the ball and making a mess of things.
Yep, that was good. That was really good. So what that clip was about is it was kind of holding to task certain tribes, certain members that Liam is aware of. And yeah, he's able to talk about that quite well. And yeah, at least I was seeing some masculine tribe there, and he's able to call things out. It's possible it goes the other way, but you know, at the end of the day, he has possibly that introverted feeling as a higher function. And so you're going to hear a lot of those feelings in that sense. But what I was hearing was the extroverted thinking was masculine in the sense that he is very solid about what is right and what is wrong, but it's not in the TI kind of way. It's more of the TE masculine, right? So that's what we're hearing there. And yeah, it's tough to prove, but you know, at least that's as close as we can get. There's one more clip here for that. Let's see if we can actually nail it down. But I am seeing the FITE axis, so that's a spoiler on that. But given that it is possibly that FITE axis, like which one is the masculine and which one is feminine? That's let's watch this part of the clip. And you know, there's also good reflection as to what's going on in current news, current events. Liam is able to say a lot of things I want to say, but I haven't said, you know. So it's good. He's able to speak up for people and say the right things. So I don't know. That's something too.
A long career of activism, 40 years, Liam, you have been involved in the pro-Palestine movement. I mean, that's amazing. What was the impetus, I guess? Because it's always one, you know, it's always kind of that spark is different for everyone.
Oh, my spark was very simple. Ireland has gone through 2 genocides, right? In the 17th century, when the pig Oliver Cromwell came over with his new model army, he was here for 9 months, and the only good thing about it was he actually managed to get malaria in Ireland and died of it back in England. So we did get him. But he left his new model army for 3 years afterwards. And these are British figures. They figured during those 4 years that the new model army, Oliver Cromwell's British army, wiped out 40% of the Irish population. That was in the 17th century.
Yeah, so I will say that like one of the things here is that he's talking about the British, and the British are kind of at the root of this other problem as well. You know, a lot of the Middle East problems kind of started with the British as well. So Ireland has a lot of history with this, you know, and so that's why he's been aware of these issues for 40 years. There's a lot of interesting SI breadcrumbs that lead up to this moment now, and that's why he's pretty much ready to go. But yeah, let's keep watching.
But to the middle of the 19th century, when we had a famine. We call it here romantically the Great Hunger, when we were under British occupation. There were 50 ships a day leaving the Ireland shore, bringing food to the UK, for shops in the UK, while the Irish population starved. We're the only country in Europe that hasn't recovered its population because we lost 1 million deaths in hunger and another 2 million, 1.5 to 2 million left our shores. Hence, you have such a large Irish-American population in the States. And we had 700 years of occupation. So for any Irish person specifically not to have sympathy with the plight of the Palestinians is beyond redemption. We have huge sympathy because we went through it for 700 years. So it's our duty to stand up for people who are in the same position that we are. And it's not about Palestinians, it's not about Israelis, it's not about Jews, and it's not about Muslims. It's about how we allow one group of people to treat another group of people. So any of this anti-Semitism bullshit is well gone. And anybody else, just a note, the use of the G word that everybody's worried about, genocide. If you're using the word, any of your viewers are using the word, and they go, no, it isn't, no, it isn't. A wonderful a Dutch media outlet, I'm sure you've read this, Abby, did a study of 28 separate studies on what's happening there at the moment. They spoke to, I believe it's 8, I could be wrong, could be 6, of the top genocide scholars, Holocaust experts, historians, and quite rarely, every one of them, it was all unanimous. So these are the experts who said this is genocide. At the very least, genocidal intent, genocidal violence. So I will go with the experts as opposed to the people who feel it isn't a genocide. Because, excuse the language, but facts do not give a fuck about your feelings.
Yep. And so that was a really good clip. I was seeing masculine thinking, right? Somehow it is on the masculine side, facts don't care about your feelings. He's able to point out, logical inconsistencies pretty well. He's able to point out the situation with Ireland and Britain and, the Irish famine, the Great Hunger, affectionately called. That was also a good, kind of NF analogy to kind of lighten the message. So there's a lot that we're seeing here. I don't want to overwhelm too much with my analysis, but at least focusing on the decider functions, if he has FI before TE, what kind of TE does he have if he has that third or fourth? Is it masculine thinking or feminine thinking? Anyway, I was seeing that it was pretty punchy, so I'll go with masculine thinking. But anyway, we have a few other things to prove, and the rest of the clips are going to have hopefully a better vibe. Mostly, I think there is. This one, I think he's catching up with some friends or someone he knows. I think they're both Irish. But yeah, we're going to see a little bit of some NESI humor and about the weather. But it's not just about the weather. It's about a bunch of stuff. And then you'll see how, if he's an observer or a decider.
It's smoke and mirrors. But it attracts people. It attracts people with money. It attracts the beautiful people. It's all that sort of stuff. And listen, I'm the first to walk down the street and if you see a gorgeous man or woman, it's just like, mother of God, are these people actually human? But push comes to shove, I'm here for the race. And like last year when it lashed rain,
Really?
I have my anorak in the bag. I was waiting for it. I know rain.
You know what's going to happen.
I knew when the world said it wasn't going to rain, and I was looking at those clouds. Listen, I've had 60 years of Irish rain. I can tell you within 10 seconds when the first drop is going to fall. And I knew it was going to rain before I was on the grid, and I went, I couldn't believe it. They were all saying, no, it's going to be fine. There might be a little bit of rain in the tent lap. And I went, no, there isn't. It's coming. I could feel it changing the air pressure and everything.
Are you a betting man? Because you like a little bet, don't you, down the horses? Do you ever put
No, my first year as an apprentice electrician, when I used to be a real person before I was an actor.
You've never been a real person. Believe me,
will ever be chief. I'll tell you that.
Can you help? He's wired wrong. Can you sort him out?
Just about 200,000 volts on each ear might sort him out. And leave it up.
Yeah, so when I used to be a real person, that's a joke there. I think that's kind of like a Delta Quadra joke. I've heard like maybe Conan O'Brien talk about that, or it could be an NFST situation there. So that's something to keep an eye out for. Now, did I prove the NESI axis? I'm not sure exactly that I did, when I was listening to that, but it did seem, at least to me, when I first heard this, that his the weather was kind of surprising for him, or he's talking about the things a lot more than he's talking about the people. But it could be this clip. I mean, that's the problem, is like when you got a bias, you can sometimes be too honed in on it to see what's going on. But let me know what you think. What are you seeing? Is it intuition or is it sensing? Is he actually surprised by the concept or the sensory? So anyway, this next clip, what I am confident about is the animal stack. So I do want to spend a bit of time here to talk about the Omnivert versus Ambivert. Now, I'm not going to get into that too much, other than there's a super introvert, the mopey side, versus a crackhead side. And if your animal stack is consume, sleep, play, you're going to have clean separation between your introverted side and your extroverted side. And he's able to talk about that with the Formula One or F1 racing.
Didn't pay your bill, but anyway, how do you see a Formula One's evolution?
You've got to be really careful.
To Liberty, to, you know, there's a growing audience in America.
Yeah, it's huge. You've got to be really careful. And I suppose an indication of it would be at Miami when the drivers were coming out and they had the cheerleaders and all that sort of stuff. Listen, Americans are fantastic. The Tinseltown thing, and they know the Super Bowl is extraordinary, and you watch it, and it's like a Macy's parade. It's the most extraordinary thing. You just got to be very careful about the dignity of the sport. I mean, this is, you know, it's not NASCAR, it's not Indy, it's Formula One, it's the pinnacle. And I don't think Formula One has to bow to to what the American media people say is required. You can still do things that are elegant and
well said.
Yeah, you don't need to bow, and you can take on board all the stuff, and they're the most welcoming. People have said to me that, you know, what's the most hospitable place you've ever been, and for me, my experience of traveling was Thailand and excuse me, and the United States. I've never experienced hospitality like it. They're extraordinary. The Americans, they move you into their house after 5 minutes after meeting you. They're just I love the optimism and the you know the positivity of the Americans, and they love putting on a show, and they want to make it bigger. And I know the whole Drive to Survive thing. I've just worked for a year with Netflix, and it's wonderful. It's wonderful to get that sport out. And when America was really difficult to break, nobody thought a documentary on a streamer would be the thing to do it. And now there's 3 races in the States this year, and it's wonderful, but you just got to be a bit too careful that you know you're not putting too much tinsel and fairy dust all over it. I don't think it requires it. It's the balance between entertainment and sport is very difficult. Well,
that makes me think, actually, because Eddie, when you were starting your Formula One team, you had to do things differently because you were coming into the arena with Ferrari, with McLaren, with the teams Williams that were already established. So you would do marketing stunts. But
we're wonderful.
They got you a lot of media.
What are you saying?
A lot of media. McLaren used to go mad with Bernie because they were getting more coverage than McLaren were at the time. I remember there was complaints. They went to Bernie and said, "What the hell's going on with this little tiny team?"
He tried to have me banned.
All right. Yeah. So the point there was to cover the F1 racing in terms of like Liam was talking about how you do too much marketing and too much hospitality, too much high energy stuff, you start to lose the soul. And that's more the consume sleep side of the spirit and the culture of what F1 racing is supposed to be. And so, the Americans or Thai or hospitality in general, it represents kind of like abandoning yourself. And he doesn't want the F1 culture to abandon itself and cater too much to the American audience. Like, don't cater too much to the audience. That's what the consume sleep folks are trying to say. And that is kind of the Omnivert analysis, because ambiverts could do a little bit of both. Like, you could do a little bit of marketing, a little bit of product. You do a little bit of this, a little bit of that. But omniverts are going hard in the paint on one of these. So, yeah. We have our last clip, and I actually really like this character in Game of Thrones, this Melisandre, who is Carice van Houten. I think she's from the Netherlands. But yeah, so this is just a last, icing on the cake. Basically get some of Liam's vibe. How does his co-star or fellow actress see him, and kind of how's their back and forth? Like, I'm seeing him as a social 4. Is that checking out? Let's check it out.
All right. How would you describe each other as scene partners?
Oh, Jesus.
That's still with the lawyers at the moment. We're still discussing where we're told not to say anything.
No, we're joking. I couldn't. I'm honest if I say I couldn't have done this without him. Really, in a way. No, but it's true. I mean, in moments where I felt very insecure or I just felt not right with myself or in the situation, my life, whatever, he was always there because most of my scenes were with him. And as much as he can be a goofball and can be fucking annoying, he most of the time makes you laugh and tells you the right things at the right moment. So I actually really found a friend in him as a colleague.
Yeah, we really see when the cameras are off what she actually says. She beats me. She hits me with sticks and stuff. I have to say, I have to reciprocate that. We did a job together before we started on Game of Thrones. So when you knew you were coming into something that was gaining notoriety and you're stepping in as a new member, not the original first season member of cast, to have somebody there that it takes away a lot of the nerves. You don't feel so much like a stranger, and you're both going on the journey together, you know. So for the last actually 2000, this is their 9th year since we started. 2010 we did Black Butterfly, so this is kind of 9 years we've been working together, and we're still talking to each other. It's hard to believe. Yeah, anyway.
Well, on that note, my last question is
All right. Yeah, that's good. And I'm sure the rest of this is good. I will leave the videos in the description so you can check it out. But yeah, it seems like he's genuinely tribe motivated. That part I feel is correct. Now the NF versus NT, that's a little harder for me to tell because sometimes you don't know which side is up. I see him as NF, but it might be ST. I might be seeing him upside down. It's totally possible. But at least from what I can tell or see, it seemed kind of NF to me. It seems like he's more comfortable with the emotions and he's more joking, you know. Yeah, so anyway, back to narrowing down the guess. So all those clips, you know, you do as much proof work as you can, but at the end of the day, you still got to guess. Now, which way is up, which way is down? Let's find out, at least what I think. My initial narrow down was just zooming right to this, into this panda animal stack. We'll come back to this, but first we zoom back out, you know, rather than narrowing down too hard. I see self above tribe. You know, he's able to talk about his own perspective, and then he's just surprised about what other people are thinking, what other people are doing or not doing, saying or not saying. The other people kind of surprise him, you know. He doesn't really know what other people are up to. And the gathering over organize, you know, he's able to take in information. He's not scared of learning what's going on over there. You know, what's that sound over there? Like he's figuring out what is around him, and he's gathering, changing the channel, talking about multiple concepts, multiple things. And he's introverted. Like he does have to get a little bit, you know, kicked to talk, you know, in these interviews. Like he's waiting to get asked the questions. And yeah, I'm seeing a lot of the typical introvert side, which just means that you're less likely to talk. You're more so taking in information. Yeah, and then back to that original guess of mine is like you're seeing the energy dominance that he's, you know, balanced between work and rest, and then you're also seeing just the whole panda vibe of, you know, the mopey. He's able to refine his own perspective. You know, he's able to go on a roll as to what he thinks and what he sees, but it's also, you know, very energetically balanced. But you're not getting exactly the information. It's only because he's been part of some cause for 40 years that he has some of that information loaded up in his brain. But outside of that, he's not really, you know, that information dominant person. But yeah, that kind of goes to show for energy doms out there, you should at least figure out the information game for a few things in your life, so you can at least talk about it for those areas. So the next narrow down is, I was saying introverted feeling, like why is he the moral compass for the show? You know, other people can do that, but the way he does it is more of the feeling side. Other people, yeah, anyone can do that, but is the FI way is how he's doing it. At least from what I can tell. And then intuition over sensing. So it narrows down to either an INFP or an ENFP. Here, consume, sleep, play. That's at least what I'm seeing. And yeah, because he's able to talk about multiple concepts. He's not getting surprised by the concept. It's more about how the sensory is lining up. that's the thing that surprises him, is like, what's the actual reality that's being reflected right now? Because he's seeing the patterns coming ahead of time. So yeah, with that, my initial guess and what will be my final guess is the double masculine NEFI, consume, sleep, play, blast, last, number 4. So this is actually not too distant from George R.R. Martin's type, but who wrote Game of Thrones, or yeah, is that right? Yeah. Yeah, so he's a standard ENFP, at least from what I'm seeing here. But I had another guess, and it's because he can come off a little bit like a decider at times. It might be the social type. It might be because he's a number 4, which is your social decider. He's very tribe motivated, and he does care about the people. He is connecting with the people, and he, is thinking about that a lot. So it might be the case that he's actually a INFP instead of an ENFP. The other thing I was actually thinking of, a wild guess would have been ISTP, if he's ST instead of NF. But, anyway, I'm sticking with the NF side of things, not trying to guess too hard in the other direction. Because what I'm seeing is that he's doing what I'm not doing. He's able to talk about feelings. He's able to talk about intuition. And I'm not really sure, other than the few data points he has stacked up, I'm not sure what other ST he's really talking about here. So yeah, the final guess is ENFP, double masculine, NEFI, consume, sleep, play, blast, last, number 4. Smuggler. Yeah, no, he worked as a smuggler in the the Game of Thrones role that he played, and then he he actually did a lot of cool stuff in real life. But yeah, so that was it. Liam Cunningham, I really enjoyed typing him. Very friendly ENFP, a double masculine ENFP, so not like Timothy Chalamet, your double feminine one. He does come across more as double masculine. He does look a little bit more like Nick Offerman and the other like masculine ENFPs. And he is that consume, sleep, play archetype. That's a good one to get to know. Maybe I should do a video just about that at some point. But yeah, you have different things, different personality types that kind of cluster certain sections. And yeah, so anyway, that was fun. In 2 weeks, I'm going to be doing a personality typing on someone who's been gaining a lot of traction in the YouTube space, and that's Professor Jiang. I probably should have written that his channel is Predictive History. And so he's been talking about a lot of current events and future events, as well as the past. And yeah, some of his information is good. Some of his information is worth looking into more on your own. But it's interesting to see him piece together a lot of this information that, the government may not be telling us, that different news sources are not telling us. But you need to be able to look at history and see where things are going. This guy predicted, that Trump would win in 2024, and he also predicted the escalation with Iran in terms of wars and fighting that's happening between countries and stuff. So I think you want to see this stuff coming so you get an understanding of what's going on, unless you're not interested in that. But we're going to be typing him. And so typing is a very different thing. It's just understand the psychology behind the person who is doing this, who is putting all this work together, because we all are piecing our realities together based also in our functions. So, my functions are different than this guy's. I'll give you that much. So it's interesting to see how people are piecing together information. So that's March 27th in 2 weeks, Professor Jiang, and that'll be episode number 20. Thank you for watching. Like and subscribe. Hope you enjoyed.